one name that, for my money, is the comeback player of the year and criminally underreported, frankly, is Jonathan Drouin. He had a great year in Colorado. He really did. And it was apparently Nathan MacKinnon called Joe Sakic. This is the story. I don't know if this is true or not. And said, you got to sign this guy. You got to bring this guy in. How's Jonathan Drouin feeling after this season, after, a bit of a bumpy ride the last few?
Yeah, I would say that what Colorado allowed him to do, to be there and to have the familiarity of his old line mate and very close friend from junior, is it allowed him to rekindle his passion to play the game. Mm-hmm. And there's some very well documented issues with anxiety that he's been very open about and very public about. When I spoke and continue to speak with Jonathan now, he's in just a tremendous place in his personal life.
Great.
He's a happy guy. He all season looked forward to coming to the rink and was so focused and locked in on having success on the ice. But really, enough credit has not gone to the Avalanche as an organization. I think that from the management to giving him the opportunity, the coaching staff, Jonathan cannot think more highly of that coaching staff, to the guys in the room that accepted him and brought him in, and he's like, Allan, I feel like I've played here for the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And no disrespect at all to Montreal. Many people were very good to him in Montreal, but I think the constant scrutiny and the fact that he was one of the few French Canadian players over a lengthy period of time where, there's demands on you in speaking to media on a daily basis. There's, and we've talked about it before here on this podcast, going out into the world and going to a dépanneur and having people come to you and walking down the street and walking into a restaurant.
I don't think people in Toronto talk too much about how intense the media is here. I don't think people pay enough attention to how intense not just the English media, but the French media in Montreal is tough. And there's blogs and they'll follow you around, and it's a whole different world.
And it's 24/7.
Yes. You don't leave your house without it.
And it's all summer. Like, it literally goes 24/7 all the time. And you either have to be incredibly thick-skinned and cut yourself off from access to it. Like, stay off social media, don't read anything. And it's a very hard thing to do. When things are not going well, it's much easier for it to start snowballing out of control in a place like Montreal or Toronto, or really any Canadian city, as opposed to being in a city with one or two beat writers. And when you leave the rink, you have relative anonymity.
Right.
And you can go anywhere, live your life, go anywhere with your family. You can walk your dog. You can go to the park with your kid. And it's not that people won't bother you, it's people don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing for many guys.
I don't know how long that's going to last, though, because hockey is growing in certain areas where players have traditionally gone to escape that. And you look at what's happening in South Florida. You look at what's happened in Tampa. You look at what's happened in Nashville, places where people are like, well, if I want to be anonymous, you can't sign in those places the same way that you used to and get that same anonymity. And obviously Denver is not it's a pretty intense place to play. The fan base is great. And I think, being next to Nathan MacKinnon, having him as your best friend, I think that's pretty great. Do you think that he's now able to take this momentum and turn it into, a longer, you said he was like 5 years with Colorado. Do you think it'll be that? Do you think he's going to stay there? Like, am I allowed to ask that?
Well, I don't want to talk specifically on. I did meet with Chris McFarland in Buffalo, and had a great meeting with him. And both sides have been pretty public also about how we want to make a deal. They want to make a deal, and when both sides want to make deals, deals happen.
There you go. Marc-Andre Fleury. He has another year, and there was a lot of speculation this year about whether or not he'd play beyond this season. What do you think it is about Minnesota? It seems that when he got there, he found a home. What is it about Minnesota where he thought, you know what, I gotta keep doing this?
Well, I think Minnesota is an amazing place to play. You've got a great fan base, and the lifestyle for him and his family off the ice has been fantastic. He's got young kids. They love their schools. They love their extracurricular activities, from hockey to soccer to everything else. Management, you have a GM who was your former teammate that you won a cup with, won another couple of cups with Billy Guerin in management in Pittsburgh. Bill was on our podcast, and we talked about
he was great fun.
We talked about how much he loves Flower and how far back they go together. When you have all that, and I went into Minnesota for his 1,000 game celebration, and they hosted a party after the game for the guys on the team and their families, their wives, girlfriends. You just see how much he's loved.
Yeah. Oh,
by his teammates.
Yeah. And that's followed him everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he just, and you know what? He's an asset to a team that needs a guy like him, right?
If any team that can have a Marc-Andre Fleury in their dressing room is better for it.